Good morning, Halfton Hero here. I just want to thank everybody who's been watching my first couple of videos so far. I just wanted to get my feet wet, have a little bit of fun, and start practicing the craft. But basically in this video, I just want to take a second to give a little, you know, context. Maybe people have been wondering, like, what's this about this Halfton Hero? What's that all about? And what's your goal? What's your mission, man? So basically, my mission has a lot to do with where I want to go. You've heard people talk about making your dreams a reality, um, creating your own existence. These are all really amazing, important things. And basically, for many years of my life, probably close to 2 decades, I've struggled with obesity, morbid obesity, and largely due to just neglect. People don't realize that obesity is not something you just get or something you just become. It's a subtle beast. It sneaks into all the comfort areas in your life. It, you know, sneaks into your peripheral vision. It, hides in plain sight. And before you know it, you can't move the same. You can't wear the same clothes. You don't feel the same. It's harder to do normal things like, wiping your bum or putting on your socks, going down the stairs, things like that. So, basically, 2025 was a big year for me, a big shift in my, spiritual, being, my heart, my mind. But it was still really challenging because, I hadn't done anything with my mental health most of my life, as a lot of people, I think, um, might relate to. But 2026, so far, this has been the best year of my life, and so far, I intend for it to continue to be the best year of my life. The first 3.5 months of 2026, I went to an IOP, which is basically called intensive outpatient. Basically, I did therapy like 5 days a week. I call it mental health university. So basically, I learned all the knowledge and information about mental health that I never had before. I actually understand what depression and anxiety are now, and many other things. And finally, for the first time in my life, I'm not living my life day to day in a state of fight or flight. So I'm free from the physical harm that causes your body, and I'm free from the mental prison that depression and anxiety puts you in. And now it's time for the outside to look like the inside. So my main mission this year is to walk out of obesity. It's to finally, change this, physical prison. Now that I'm free of my mental prisons, it's time to break free from the physical prison. And make no mistake, morbid obesity is a physical prison. You're trapped in your own body. You're restricted. You can't, go play with your kids. You can hardly stand up for very long. The whole thing is just challenging, and it's very demoralizing. And people don't understand it. They don't understand, like, oh, how could you let yourself, become this way? Or even morbid people that are suffering from morbid obesity, they say, oh man, I wish I would have just started working out, or I wish I would have took better care of myself. But shame and regret, that's a surefire way to depression, and that's useless. The past doesn't exist anymore. The future doesn't exist yet. Right now is the most important time of your life. It's the most important time of my life. So every day, you have a chance to make your wildest dreams come true. You just have to understand that between where you're at now and where you want to go, whatever your big picture is, there's a bunch of little things that you got to do each day to make it happen. And 2026, this year, my mission, I will, by the end of this year, no longer be morbidly obese. I will be as close to fit as I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm going to do some big things, to commit to that. I've already made a lot of big changes, starting with taking walks every day and changing the way I eat in January. So in December, I weighed 506. In January, I started at the encouragement and patience from my sister. I started, one of those shots, to help you with weight loss. So in January, I weighed in at 491, and I started doing that and walking. And if you have one of those health apps on your phone, I've got Apple Health. So it's funny because every month, January, February, March, April, May, my step, graph goes up and up and up and up. I can just watch the trends of activity versus the sedentary life of, someone who's morbidly obese. So, but February, the next weigh-in was 476. So that was really encouraging to see that, you know, 15, 16 pounds or whatever drop off. And then my next weigh-in was only 472 in March, which was a little perplexing. But you got to think, I spent all this time, all these years not moving, you know, lots of 2025, definitely 2024, working from home, just sitting in my chair, sometimes not even leaving my house for months at a time. So, but April comes around and, going for a weigh-in, 456. So 506 down to 456, 50 pounds off so far. And, not that that really is the most important part, but, essentially the change and the drive and the motion. That's the main thing for me. I'm not going to stop. But the biggest thing I'm going to be doing this year is, I've always fantasized about this uh, alternate reality. You heard people talk about midlife crisis. Uh, I am a middle-aged person. I'm 43 years old. I consider that middle age, so definitely not a spring chicken anymore. So um, instead of a midlife crisis, I don't want to have a midlife crisis. I've had enough crisis in my life, and I don't consider what I'm going through, what I started going through at the beginning of 2025, a crisis. If anything, I see it as an awakening. I see it as the beginning of the rest of my life. And, there's just, um, there's just some things that, you just have to realize in life that you decide what everything is. You create your world. Your world is what you make it. So I don't have to have a midlife crisis. Instead, I want to have something called a midlife montage where, like in Rocky and basically any movie with any kind of action sequence, there's the montage with some cool song playing and all the good shit happening in just a few minutes, so we don't have to wait for the payoff. Um, Obviously, I'm gonna have to work really hard to get my payoff, but I plan on making plenty of montage videos to share my progress with you guys. And we've all seen, on social media and just in general in public, there's always all these people who are, um, you know, who have made these big transformations or whatever, and they're all trying to sell you their magic diet that'll help you do the same thing. And my content will always be free. I have no aim here other than to try to help as many other people who are struggling with morbid obesity. Say, hey, look at that guy. There's Halfton Hero. He can suffer through these workouts. He can take these walks. He can change the way he eats. He can do things to commit to his goal, and maybe I can. If you're 400, 500, 600 pounds sitting on your couch, or whatever, and you feel like there's no hope. Believe me, I've been there. There is hope. You just have to stop looking backwards. You just have to let go of the shame and regret. It doesn't exist anymore. All that matters is right now. And yeah, it took a lot of days to get the way I am right now, and it's going to take a lot of days to change this physically, but that's okay, because this is my life, and I'm going to make it the way I want it. And some things take more than a day. But, ultimately, I plan on sharing this journey as much as I can. And, right now I'm just kind of scrambling to, I'll tell you more about my story. Obviously, that'll probably provide some more relevance here. But right now I'm scrambling to get ready for my big push this year, for my midlife montage. My main, move here, because of the unique kind of circumstances I have in my life right now. I'm going to take a pilgrimage, take a journey, take a walkabout, or whatever people call these things. But to put it plainly, I'm going to take some time in my life where all I'm doing every day is walking and just pushing towards my goal. And so to kind of put that in a physical nature and make it something that tangible, that can be communicated. I'm gonna walk. Basically, I'm gonna trek from Cincinnati, Ohio, uh, all the way to Atlanta, Georgia, on foot. I'm gonna go via trails. I've got All Trails Guide GPS. Obviously, I don't want to walk on highways, so I'm gonna have to get gear, and I've already got my list up. I'm gonna get my gear. I've been practicing every day, walking as much as I can, trying to drop as much weight as I can, but mainly just making the most of each day, because that's what you got to do. Today's the most important day of your life. What can you do today? What's one thing you can do today? Just do it, and then you can feel great the rest of the day, and it doesn't matter what you do. But yeah, so I'll be posting more about this trip, this 500 plus mile walk from Cincinnati to uh, Atlanta, Georgia, through the hills of Kentucky and the mountains of Tennessee, through the Grand Pass into Georgia, through the main trails there. So thank you to everyone that's been watching my videos so far. Please like them, share them with your friends. We all know somebody who's big, who's morbidly obese. Morbid means you're physically disfigured because of your obesity and how big and how long you've been obese. Maybe just regular obese. Maybe just someone who's soft around the edges. Maybe you're already a fit person, but you want some motivation, or you just want to see people on your feed that are doing something positive and trying to help other people instead of just trying to sell you shit, or whatever. So thanks to everyone that's been watching. Please give me a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And more is on the way and more to come. But I'm having a great time so far, and I really appreciate anyone that takes the time to watch my videos. Thanks.